Welcome to your unit project of angles and measurement of angles. So for this project, we're going to be using the skills we have learned in this previous unit and practice, such as finding, identifying, and measuring angles. You'll also get to practice your video making skills to find a creative way to share your work. So for this project, we are going to go out and find angles. This could be out on a hike that you love to do, or in a favorite place of your house or area of town, anything that comes to mind that you think you could find angles. And I posted a few inspiration links on our Google Classroom if you want to check those out. So for the project, you are going to, like I said, go out and find your own angles. And you're going to create a video of these angles. You can work individually or with a partner. If you work with a partner, you have to include just a few more angles as well as show that you both contributed to the video. So for the video, you should include at least 4 different angles, 8 again if you're working with a partner, their measurements, and the following terms: protractor, degrees, acute angle, right angle, obtuse angle, straight angle, as well as classification of pairs of angles such as supplementary and or complementary. You might not include all of these terms, but if you have an angle that fits the description or need to use one of these words, it's great. Great brownie points to do that. You also might want to include a brief explanation of the location and its significance to you. So for example, in my video, I found angles at the University of Montana because, as you know, I'm studying for my master's there. There's no minimum amount of time for your video, but you'll want it to be no more than 4 minutes. And you can use whatever type of video editing software you're most comfortable with. Like I'm using WeVideo for mine, but you, like I said, can use whatever you would like. iMovie, WeVideo, Windows Movie Maker, etc. Make sure you include narration or music or at least some text so we can follow along as we watch your video. Don't do a screencast and a slideshow just like I'm doing right now. As you know, that's kind of boring and we don't want to watch 25 of those all in a row. And see your rubric in Google Classroom to make sure that you're fitting all of the more specific requirements for the video. Now, once you find your angles, you're going to have to measure them, right? So there's a few ways you can do this. You can go out with your protractor and measure the angles and then edit in those measurements later. So for some tinier angles, that might work pretty well, but you might need to use an alternative way. And this is pretty easy to do, but just takes an extra step or two. So take photos of your angles, actually print out the photos, and then measure your angles with a protractor. And then you can go in and edit your images of your video later and add in those angle measurements. I'm also going to show you a handy little tool that you can use in Chrome to measure the angles itself. So you can use this to check your angles as well. Alright, so for this video here, we'll wait for it to start doing something, but it's all built right into Chrome and you can just play around with whatever image you have within Chrome. Alright, so under our Google Classroom, go under Classwork and then scroll down to the Project section. Here we are in Project, and we'll find this little handy dandy link where you can get that protractor. As you can see, measuring some angles right there, add it to your Chrome. It's pretty instant. You got a little button right there at the top right to use. And then find your photo. So I saved all my photos to Google Drive, and you can do that as well for ease. So go ahead and open up your photo. I zoomed in a little bit to get a little bit more accurate, which I highly recommend that you do as well. And then as you can see, you can center in that little protractor and put the legs of the angle on the different parts that you're measuring. And would you look at that? We got a nice 90-degree right angle. And then you can turn your legs the other way and measure the opposite angles. whatever you want. So as you're doing this, make sure you're taking notes so you remember, and then you can edit into your images later. Like I said, pretty handy tool. Chrome, I feel like, has an extension for everything. All right, and then our next step in our video making process is likely going to be adding in measurements, and this is the way that I did it. If you want to do it a different way, by all means, but this way I found to be pretty easy. Okay, so now we're just on our regular old desktop. I'm using a Windows computer, so if you're using a Mac, this might be a little bit different. So you're going to find whatever photo you want to edit, and this is going to be saved with your drawings on it. So go ahead and open it, go to Edit and Create, and then scroll down to Edit with Paint 3D. All right, so now we are in Paint 3D. I'm going to zoom in again so I can be as accurate as I want to be. And then I went over to 2D shapes and chose line. So this is how I'm going to highlight my angles. And now remember, I already took note of what my angles were. So now I'm making a line there. You really can't see it, right? It's black. So I'm going to change the color. There we go, to white. You can see that a lot easier. Here you can change the thickness of that line to whatever you like. And if you want to make it opaque or not, you can play around. And there you go. One line, one leg of the angle, and here we are adding in another one. Nice thing is the color is saved so you can actually see it. So we can add that in. You gotta hit the check mark to save it, or otherwise it's just gonna disappear. And if you decided to go the other way, you can do that, but at least it's starting at the same apex as the other leg. So check, we want it to stay. And now we need to label the measurement. So we go to text, and we want to select that first option for text and create a little text box. And then we're going to create a background fill so we can see our writing very easily. I just chose black. And then we type in our angle, which is 90 degrees, but we can't see it. So here we go. Highlight it and change it to white. All right, and pretty simple there. That's all you got to do to create or to edit into your photos for your video later. All right. And when you're done creating your video, you have a few things you can do. So, first of all, submit your video to Google Classroom for it to be graded, and I'll compile all the videos together when everyone's finished. Work on the extension activities. So, as normal, those are all posted to Google Classroom. Some fun ones on there. And give feedback to your peers as they post. So you can use peer grade again, so all anonymous, but remember the 3 stars and a wish, 3 things you really liked about the video, and then something you think would be an improvement to that video. All right, and without further ado, here is my example of the video that I created for my found angles. And there you go, my example. If you have any questions, please see me, but also check your resources in Google Classroom. There's plenty of answers in there as well as lots of inspiration. Can't wait to see what you all come up with.